Hello. In the last video, we looked at the special rights and privileges of self-government enjoyed by the City of London and how this devolved power was expressed with the seal and civic regalia. But it would be wrong to think of medieval London as a democracy in the modern sense. Power was essentially the monopoly of the livery companies, who elected the aldermen who governed the city. But from the 14th century, citizens were represented by a Court of Common Council, and through that body played a part in the city's administration. The livery companies evolved from religious fraternities, whose members typically shared a common trade or craft that emerged in Anglo-Saxon England as mutual help societies and developed into guilds, bodies that regulated and controlled their respective crafts. By the 12th century, they were central to the life and economy of the City of London and received their authority by royal charter. To become a member and entitled to wear the uniform, the livery of the company, involves completing a lengthy training period, from apprentice to journeyman to master. Each London guild had its own livery hall, often very grand, and met together in a central guildhall. London's medieval Guildhall, a replacement for an earlier building on which work began in 1411, was second in size only to the King's Westminster Hall, which it was clearly designed to rival. Here the Lord Mayor presided, seated on the equivalent of a throne on a raised dais, exactly like the King at Westminster. The medieval hall was largely destroyed in the Great Fire of London, but parts of the undercroft date back to earlier 12th and 13th century buildings. Surviving masonry flanking the late 18th century grand entrance gives an impression of the medieval Guildhall's splendour. Most of the individual livery halls were also lost in the Great Fire. The oldest in the city today is the Apothecaries' Hall, built in 1672. By the end of the medieval period, there were 48 livery companies, with 12 great livery companies headed by the mercers taking precedence. Only individuals were granted a coat of arms before 1439, when the first grant was made by the College of Arms to a corporate body, the Worshipful Company of Drapers, beginning a trend soon followed by other livery companies and then by municipal authorities, universities and other corporate bodies. Typically, the arms of a livery company give an indication of the trade or craft practiced. The Clothworkers' Company, formed in 1528, when two separate companies, the Fullers and the Shearmen, amalgamated, feature a teasel on their arms, the seed heads of a plant once used to raise the nap on cloth. The Grocers' Company arms have cloves, referencing their involvement in the early spice trade. Coats of arms were proudly displayed on livery company regalia, including ceremonial robes, which were adopted for processions in the 14th century. This is the Vintners' Company in procession in 2019. This painting of around 1745 is of the ceremonial barge of the Ironmongers' Company on the Thames at Lambeth. The company's coat of arms is prominently displayed on the stern. Splendid guildhalls expressing civic pride were not confined to London. All major medieval towns had a guildhall, and many had more than one. King's Lynn had 3. This one belonged to the Guild of the Holy Trinity. St Mary's Guildhall in Lincoln was built in the 12th century. The attractive porch of the early 13th century Guildhall at Bury St Edmunds, built in the 15th century, surrounds an earlier entrance arch. The large mid-15th century Guildhall beside the River Ouse in York has been restored after suffering bomb damage in World War II. The Guild of Corpus Christi met in this splendid 16th century half-timbered building in Lavenham in Suffolk to regulate the woolen cloth trade that made medieval Lavenham rich. It now houses a museum and is in the care of the National Trust. The Guildhouse at Knowle in Warwickshire was the headquarters of the Guild of St Anne, which was founded in 1413. The close studying of the timbers at Lavenham and at Knowle is a very visible statement of wealth. Guilds, which might be merchant or craft, exercised considerable power, supervising standards, controlling wages, and overseeing training for the trade or business they represented, and they operated as a mix of business society, social lubricant, and charity. Both men and women were eligible, and membership conferred status. Before the Reformation, many guilds demonstrated their growing influence and authority by providing spiritual benefits, some with their own chapels and priests, others supporting a dedicated altar or a chantry in their parish church, something previously restricted to the aristocracy. Guild priests might run schools for members' children. The religious element of guilds came under close scrutiny at the Reformation and with the dissolution of the monasteries. A predominantly religious guild at Lichfield is an example of one of those closed down, dissolved in 1547 when the Guildhall became the property of the Crown. Inns often supplied guilds or their branches with safe storage and function rooms, and names such as the Carpenter's Arms or the Cooper's Arms, for example, might be clues. Now, so far, I haven't mentioned chains of office or livery collars. They will be my topic next time. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available. Or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.